everybody, welcome to the Will Dogs Games and Wrestling. The mask is back and you know what time it is. It is time for that weekly wrestling wrap-up. Today is going to be a bit longer than last week because we do have WWE Roadblock to talk about. Now, Roadblock is something I was very excited for, and rightfully so. The event was good. I was very excited. I watched it the other night on the network, and it was the right length. It was only 2.5 hours long. With Mania coming up, I didn't want to get oversaturated with the product. So 2.5 hours was not bad. Now, to open the show, we had New Day versus League of Nations for the tag titles. New Day did end up with the win. I felt this was the right call for Mania. This sets up New Day as the champions going into Mania. But the match itself, it was alright. It was largely forgettable. We'll move on from it. The next match was a little bit more interesting. It was the Chris Jericho match. He didn't have a scheduled match. We didn't know who he was facing. He came out and he cut a promo talking about how he's the best in the world at what he does. And he nonchalantly called out Swagger amongst a bunch of others. And Swagger answered the call. Jack Swagger came out. And Jericho beat him by submission. It was a good match, but any Chris Jericho match really is really good. It was a good warm-up match for Mania. Now, one big thing that's been on the news lately, on the wrestling news, is his heel tactics with what he did in Canada. He grabbed a fan sign that was out near the entrance ramp that said, "Get well, Brett." As many of you know, Brett is going through, he's been diagnosed with cancer. Apparently he's cancer-free now, but he's not really out of the woods. So, with this being up in Canada, he had a lot of fans in the crowd, and Jericho grabbed the sign and ripped it up. And then there was also a big war right now because somebody at the event got her drink thrown by Jericho. Now, I wanna address this. If you're going to a WWE event, and you're in the front row, you gotta assume that the wrestlers are gonna interact with you a little bit. It's not just a show; it's an experience. So, if somebody throws you a drink, this happens a lot, folks. So, I'm quite surprised in today's day and age to see somebody complaining about that. He's a heel. He's doing something heelish. Let him be his character. Now, we go from the Jericho Swagger match to the NXT title match. The Revival did pick up the win over Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. Now, I haven't been following NXT as well as I should, but I know Enzo and Big Cass. They're really good. I like their opening promo. They came down, really introduced themselves to some of these people who probably don't watch them on a weekly basis. But the problem wasn't with the crowd not knowing them, because by the end they loved this match. The announcers didn't know anything about NXT, and it showed. So the announcers need to get on it. If they're going to put these NXT matches on the main shows, these announcers need to know what they're talking about. Or they need to bring in the NXT announcers who are used to calling matches for these people. So we go from that. There was a promo with Charlotte and Natalya in the back. Now, again, Natalya is the daughter of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. So she's related to Bret Hart. That's her uncle. And she has a little promo with Charlotte saying, I want a title match. And Charlotte says, "You're never getting the title." But Natalya goads her into it, so Charlotte gives her a title match. This is good because, they're playing up the crowd and where they're at. It worked. The match itself was much better than I was expecting. I love it when they give these divas time to work. And they definitely gave Charlotte and Natalya time to work. Now, Charlotte did end up picking up the win, which is expected. It makes no sense for Natalya to take on Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch at Mania. Everybody wants to see Charlotte defend that title. So this was a great match. The promo beforehand was great. And I was very, very pleased with this. I hope they do this more where they give the divas a little bit more time. Now, we go from there to the Brock Lesnar versus the Wyatts. and it was a forgettable warm-up match. I think it was just over 4 minutes long. I wanted to see a little bit more of Lesnar, especially before he takes on Ambrose at Mania. But it is what it is. It's Lesnar. Put him on the show. He's going to do his thing. 4 minutes. There's really not much to say. The last match before the main event was Sami Zayn against Stardust. This also was not advertised, if I'm not mistaken. It was an okay match. I mean, it's not the worst Sami Zayn match I've ever seen, but it's definitely not even close to the best. So it just kind of sets up this IC title feud going into Mania. And obviously, they're going to get some people like Stardust in there because, like I said last week, they're talking about doing multiple man match. So Sami Zayn did pick up the win there as expected. Now, Triple H, Ambrose was last. I said last week Ambrose was not walking out with the title because of how they booked him on the go-home show of Raw before Roadblock. And guess who was right? The Will Dog was right. Lucha Will, right here. Now, it was a good match, don't get me wrong. Ambrose never puts on a bad match. Triple H, however, can put on a bad match, but Ambrose could wrestle a broomstick, and it would be interesting. So, wrong finish, in my opinion, and I said that before. Everybody wants to see Reigns Ambrose. In fact, all things considered, if it were a perfect world, it'd be Reigns, Rollins, Ambrose, Shield triple threat. But we're not getting that. Unfortunately, get well soon, Rollins. Apparently he's training again, so that's good. But the match itself was good. I was pleased with the work rate, not pleased with the finish. So kudos to Ambrose, but not kudos to the creative team. Now we'll move right into Raw. If I seem like I'm going quick, it's because I got a lot to talk about, and I don't want this to run too long. Now, we open with a New Day v League of Nations match. Highly forgettable match. I don't know why they had this match. They just had it on Roadblock, and now they've announced they're going to have it at Mania. Why do I want to see this so often going into Mania? It's not going to be special going, when I'm waiting to watch Mania. This is not going to be the match I'm waiting to watch. In fact, this will probably be go get a snack break, So, it made no sense. Now, I'm not going over everything with Raw. These are just what I feel are the bigger matches and bigger promos. But Ambrose did come out to address his loss to Triple H the night before, or 2 nights before at Roadblock. And he did a good job of addressing it without saying, I'm going back after it, and making it make sense that he's going after Lesnar. So, kudos to Ambrose. You never put on a bad promo, Ambrose. You do a good job. So, good job there. I was very, very happy. Now, Ryback v Sin Cara. I wouldn't mention this except for this is setting up the U.S. title Mania match. They've already announced Ryback is challenging Kalisto for the title. He wrestles Sin Cara because Sin Cara is Kalisto's tag partner in the Lucha Dragons. Lucha Dragons, I love it. So this just set up that U.S. title match. So we know that going into Mania now. Stephanie and Ziggler had a pretty cool promo where Stephanie told him that if he can pick whatever match he wants at Mania, besides the world title match, besides that match, if he wins his match tonight, and he accepts, and who's his opponent? But Triple H. All right, Trips is his opponent. And I watch this, I'm like, oh great, Ziggler's gonna job again, and it just seems to be what he does lately. I'm not a big fan of him jobbing, but here we go. Before that match takes place, we've got a promo. Ambrose is backstage, and who's there with him? But Mick Foley. Everybody loves Mick Foley. Mick Foley's awesome. Probably one of my top 3 favorite wrestlers of all time, just because of the big bumps he took. Now, Foley talks to him about fear. He says, you know what Lesnar does. You know what he's going to do to you. You know what pain you're going to be in. Aren't you afraid? And Ambrose comes right back and says, well, when you were on top of that Hell in a Cell back in 1998, weren't you afraid? And Foley says, yes, of course I was. And the coolest part of the promo, and the thing that got me excited, was Foley gives Ambrose a gift and says it's his now. And it's a trash can. And inside the trash can is Mick Foley's barbed wire bat. Now, who better in the current WWE environment to take over as a hardcore person than Ambrose? Ambrose has already had big spots in Hell in a Cell. He's had big spots in other matches. I think this is great. If anybody can take over for Foley, it's Ambrose. So that was really good. Now, we lead right into Triple H Ziggler. This match was good. But Ziggler ended up jobbing again. Unfortunately, I love Ziggler. I liked him when he was heel. I like him when he's a face. And that's a sign of a good wrestler. But the big news out of this was Roman Reigns returned to stare down Triple H. So, kind of getting into Mania. I'm not too excited about that main event at Mania. But it is what it is. Now, again, I would not be talking about this match except for there is big news out of this one. Neville v. Jericho. Now, this one had a DQ finish. And it kind of felt like it didn't need a DQ finish, and I found out later why. Apparently, Neville, unfortunately, injured his ankle and shin, and he's going to be out for a few months. Unfortunately, he broke that ankle and shin, and it sucks. I love Adrian Neville. He's high-flying, very exciting. And unfortunately, he is injured now. Apparently, Charles Robinson, the ref, did not see the injury, and Jericho yelled at him. And they ended up pushing him to get the DQ finish so they could end the match. Then AJ Styles ended up coming out and hitting Jericho with the phenomenal elbow. That's why it's called the phenomenal elbow. And that just set up the AJ Styles Jericho match that we all know is happening at Mania. Alright, finally to end Raw, we had a promo between Shane, Undertaker, and Vince to set up the Shane Undertaker match at Mania. Now, this match, I told you I'm kind of excited for it, but I'm less excited for it now. The promo itself was great. They really set it up, and it was the first confrontation between Taker and Shane since this was set up. But Shane went after Taker, and the in-ring work was not there. I was not expecting it to be there, but I did not expect it to be this bad. It looked very, very terrible. The punches looked weak, and in wrestling, your punches cannot look weak. And Taker ended up getting Shane and, choke slamming him and trying to go after Vince, and Vince rolled out of the ring, and that ended the show. Now, this is not the go-home show to Mania, so I can forgive this, but they need to really set this up a little bit better. So, this is where we'll end the weekly wrestling wrap-up. Hopefully next week I have a little bit more to tell you, but we'll end it right here and say, whatever your geek is, remember, let your geek out.